in this example, I'm going to show you a way to solve these problems that involve perimeter and you have like variables involved. So what I'm going to do is we have one with a triangle. There's one here with a rectangle. There's one here with 5 sides. So it doesn't matter the setup. What you need to know to solve these problems, you got to first understand what is perimeter. So I'm going to go over the perimeter. And the other thing you got to understand is what they're asking you to find. So like some examples might say find the value of the variable z, but other ones might say find the length of one of the sides. So I'm going to show you how to solve this type of problem where you're asking you to find the length of a side versus when they say just find that value of z. And I'm not going to solve every single one because once you set it up, that's the hardest part. Once you set it up, all you have to do is solve the equation. So you should already have the skills on how to solve an equation. So what I'm going to do is just set it up. And in 3 of the problems, and in one of them, which is this one here, I'm going to actually solve this one out. But for the other 3, I'm just going to show you how to set it up. Because again, it just comes down to solving an equation once it's set up. So the setup is always the hardest part. So first of all, I said you got to know what perimeter is. So perimeter, so let me just give you a little side example. So let's just say I have a triangle here. And the length of each side was like 3, 3, and 4. And if I were to say, okay, can you tell me what the perimeter is? Well, to get the perimeter, all you would do is add all the side lengths together. So 3 plus 3 plus 4 gives me 10. So the perimeter for this triangle is 10 because the perimeter, again, is the sum of all the lengths of the sides. So you add up the lengths of all the sides in the figure, and you get your length of your perimeter. Now, what makes this one a little bit different is that we have variables. So this side is represented by 3z, this one is z plus 3, and this one is 4z minus 1. And they also gave us information that they said that the perimeter of the triangle is 50 units. So first of all, going back to what I mentioned over here, to get the perimeter, you have to add all sides. So I'm just going to write this down. The perimeter, you have to add all, I'll just put side lengths. So that shows you that it doesn't matter if it's 3 sides or it's 4 sides or it's 5 sides like we had over here. It doesn't matter because the perimeter is always the same. You add up all the side lengths. So if I wanted to set up an equation for this one, then the perimeter, we got to basically just substitute what we know. Look, the perimeter, how much was the perimeter? Well, the perimeter, they said, was 50 units. That's the length of the perimeter. So I could replace the perimeter with 50. I'm going to substitute the 50 in place of that. And the other side says add all side lengths. Well, what represents the length of these sides, you can see, would be 3z. So that's one of my sides. I would have to add that length. Plus, what represents this side of the length of this side is z plus 3. So z plus 3. Plus the third side, which is 4z minus 1. So that would be my last part, 4z minus 1. And if it can get confusing sometimes if you have a whole bunch of letters in a row. So if you want, you can like underline each side so you know you did it correctly. So you can see one of the sides is 3z, right, which is that side there. This is z plus 3. That's my second side. And the third side, 4z minus 1, is represented right here. So again, to get the perimeter, you add all the side lengths. So I have 3 lengths right here represented. It's just instead of being numbers like I showed you in this example, right, 3 plus 3 plus 4. So instead of the 10, to get the perimeter, that's what I did. I did 3 plus 3 plus 4. And I'll just put P for perimeter. But when you add it all up, you get 10. So again, to get the perimeter, you add up all the sides. That's how you get perimeter. But the only difference is, so here we had numbers, right, to represent the actual lengths. But here, we don't know how much z is, so we have expressions to represent each length of each side. But it doesn't matter because you just add them all together, and when you add these 3 sides together, you know that the length should be 50. And that's the setup for this equation. So all you would have to do is solve for z, and then you would get your answer for that for the value of z. Now here's my next example. It says here the perimeter of a rectangle below is 100. So I'm going to put P for perimeter. The perimeter, again, you add, I'll just put add all sides, but it's just add all the side lengths. And I'm going to replace P with the length of the perimeter, he says. So the perimeter is 100 units. So I'm going to put 100. And if you're wondering what a unit is, it just means it's not being specific as to what the measurement is. Because sometimes they might say it's inches, feet, meters, but if they're not specific, they just call it units in general. And to get the length of the perimeter, to get the length 100 for the perimeter, you have to add all the sides. Well, what are the sides in this rectangle? Now notice they only gave you 2 of the sides, but you have to keep in mind this is a rectangle, and one of the properties of a rectangle is that the opposite sides are the same length. So if this is 3z minus 2, then I know this side is going to be represented by 3z minus 2 also. And then this side is 2z plus 2, so since opposite sides are the same length, this one also has to be 2z plus 2. So now to get 100, the definition of perimeter says to add all these together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, add those 4 together. So I'm going to put down 2z plus 2. That's this side right here. I'm going to add this one here, 3z plus 2. So, and you can underline it to keep track. So that's my first side. Second one is 3z minus 2. So that's another side. Plus, so I did this one already, this one, and now I got to add this one again, 2z plus 2. Underline that, so I know that's my third side. So you can see so far I have 1, 2, 3 sides. So my fourth side was this one. I didn't write it down. It's 3z minus 2. So plus 3z minus 2. So notice it's actually pretty long, right? 100 equals this plus that plus that plus that. So all those. So that's one way you could write it. I'm going to show you the other way you could write it too to kind of save the space there. So here's the other way you could have did it. 100 equals. So notice we had, if you look here, we have 1, 2 of the same things. So mathematics, if you have 2 of the same things, we could write that out as 2. We have 2 of these, 2 times this amount. Right, we have 2 of these. And now plus, I also have, so let me highlight this one. This is the other one I have. I have 2 of these also. So that means I could put that as 2 of the 3z minus 2's. So I have two of these and 2 of these. And notice these are being multiplied. So that's being multiplied with that, and that's being multiplied with that. And then, so again, these are 2 different ways you could write it. And then once you have your equation set up, all we have to do is solve it. So I'm not going to solve this one. I'm going to solve the last example. So for right now, we're just focused on setting it up because the setup is the hardest part. Once you set it up, the rest is just using the properties of equality to solve for the variable. So again, they told us to solve for z in this case. So if you want to solve for z, all you got to do is follow the steps, your properties of equality to, go through all the process of solving it out. And now you can see here in this example, again, same idea, the perimeter. So I'm going to put down the perimeter is found by, just add all the side lengths. So add all the side lengths. And notice we have in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 side lengths. So again, it doesn't matter how many sides your figure has. It doesn't change. They said the perimeter here is 64, so I know the perimeter, P, I can replace with 64. And now basically all the side lengths. So I'm going to start with this one here, the 2y. So I'm just going to underline so I know that's one of my sides. Plus, my other one is 12. Plus, so that's again, I have 2 sides so far. Y plus 2 is another one. Y plus 2. Plus, my other one is 3y minus 3. 3y minus 3. And then the last side is 11. So plus 11. So you have to add all the side lengths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. Now notice when you have 5 sides, you got to be very organized, be careful, keep track of them. So that's why it kind of helps if you mark it as you go. That way you don't miss any of your sides, because that does come up a lot where you might miss one of the sides. And again, if you look at the instructions, find the value of y. So if you want to solve for y, all you got to do is go through the process of solving the equation, and you'll get your answer. All right, now here we have our last example, which is a little bit different because the other ones are asking you to solve for the variable. Now here, they give you a perimeter of 118. And notice if you look at the picture now, we have letters. We have P, Q, R, and S. What those letters represent is we call this a vertice. So this is like in geometry, you learn more about it. But basically, this is like the corner, the connection between these 2 sides is represented by the point S. So this is the corner, the point P, we have the point Q, and the point R. So they're saying find the length of side RS. So notice the instructions are different. It doesn't say, like, notice we have the variable y. It doesn't say find the value of y. It says find the length of RS. So if you look at your picture, what this is saying is look at the side that has those endpoints, R and S. So if you look at R and S, that's this endpoint here and this endpoint here. So they're asking us to find the length of this side here, which is represented by 5y. So that's one of the things I recommend make a little note to the side. So RS equals, and you got to find out how much that is. So that's the goal. How much is the length of this side RS? And actually, instead of a question mark, we know, again, RS, the length of this side is represented by right here, 5y. So notice, in order to answer this question, to figure out what RS is equal to, that lets me know that I have to find the value of y. So we got to figure out how much is y. So it's kind of similar to the other one where they said, you know, find the value of z, for example. But the only difference is that now that we have one extra step. Once you find the value of y, you have to take the answer. Let's say y was 2. You got to take your answer and put it in here, and that's going to let you know what the answer, the actual length is. And I'm also going to show you at the end how to check your work to make sure you got the correct answer. So similar to how we set up the other ones, we know that the perimeter is found by adding all the side lengths. So add all the side lengths to get the perimeter. So I'm going to put the perimeter. How much is the perimeter? The perimeter is 118. And I'm going to do the setup for this a little bit differently because, again, notice that they gave us letters to represent each side. Like this is RS, this is SP, PQ, and QR. I'm going to write those down. So the lengths of the sides, right? We have to add all the sides. So in this case, what are the actual sides in terms of the letters? So I'm going to put PQ, right? From here to here, this is the endpoints P and Q. So that's one side is represented by PQ plus. And I'll show you why I'm doing it this way because it's actually going to help you with organization for your answer. And then not QRS, QR. So QR, so this point to this point, that's another side. Plus from here to here, it goes R to S. So that's the length of RS. Plus this to this one is S to P. So SP. And just a little side note, if I were to write down PS, it's the same thing. Doesn't matter which order you write it in because it's the same endpoints of the same side. All right, so now we have it organized. So these are my 4 sides. So I'm going to replace each one now. So PQ, which was this side here, is represented by 4y plus 3. So that was that side. So this matches up with that side. Plus QR, which is the length of this side, is y minus 1. So I'm going to underline that. So again, this matches with that side. RS would be the length of this side, which was 5y. 5y plus SP, which is represented by the number 6. So I'll put SP is 6. So you can see we have our 4 sides here. And now we're actually going to solve this one so you can see how we answer this question. So following the properties, or the process of solving an equation, the first thing I'm going to do is combine like terms. So I have a 4y, a plus y, and a plus a 5y. Those are my like terms, same variables. So 4y plus, this is a 1y, plus 5y, it gives me a total of 10y. And now you can see the remaining terms, a positive 3, a negative 1, and a positive 6. So when you combine this, 3 minus 1 is 2, and then 2 plus 6 gives me 8. So it's a positive 8 there. So now you can see we have all these terms, and now we got down to 2 terms. And next, now, I want to solve for the variable y. So I'm going to eliminate the term on the same side, which is the positive 8 there. So opposite of adding 8 is subtracting 8. So that's the additive inverse. And then what you do to one side, you always got to do the same to the other to balance the equation. So notice we're using subtraction property of equality here. And now when I subtract these, I get 110 equals 10y. Because don't forget, when you combine these opposites, they cancel each other out. That's a 0 pair. And we're left with these now, and we have one more step left. So when I see something like 10y, don't forget that means the same thing as 10 times y. They're equivalent. They're the same thing. We just don't put the multiplication sign. So if I wanted to solve this, opposite of multiplying by 10 is to divide by 10. And what you do to one side, do the same thing to the other side. So you have to balance the equation out. So this gives me 11 when I divide this out. And when I divide this out, 10y divided by 10 is 1y. So that's the value of y. Y equals 11. And one thing to point out, be careful, because just because we figure out how much y equals does not mean we answered the question. Again, don't forget, we mentioned it earlier for the plan. We wanted to find y, and once you find y, we have to substitute it into this expression because they want the length of RS. And the length of RS, again, is this side here, and is represented by 5y. So now that we have y, we just got to substitute it here to get our answer. So I'm going to rewrite this over here. So RS equals 5 times y. And I'm going to substitute the value of y. So y we just said was 11. So if I do 5 and in parentheses replace that for the y, it became 11. That lets me know that the length of RS is equal to 55. But we're not done yet. You always got to check in the end. Does your answer make sense? Did you get the right answer? So I'm gonna go back to what I wrote over here. So notice that I told you, I made this for organization. So I'm gonna use this to check my work. So everything up until this point, you can see like this side matches with that, that goes with that, that goes with this, and it goes with this. That's why I underline it, so I can see what matches up. So now let me just erase this, and you could just rewrite it yourself. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go in and calculate each side. So, because remember, we said that when you add up all the side lengths, it should add up to 118. So that's what this equation lets us know. When you add up all the lengths of all the sides, it should get 118. So now I'm just going to replace y with the number we had, which was, don't forget we had y was 11. So I'm going to replace y with 11 here. So 4 times 11 plus 3. So that was the length of this side here, PQ. Plus, then we have 1y, so that's 11 minus 1. That was another side. Plus, again, 11 minus 1, that represents QR. 5y is 5, and then substitute that with 11 again, plus the last side, which was 6. So you can see these are my 4 sides. So I'm just going to check if I got it correct. So here, when I simplify this, I get 4 times 11 is 44. So 44 plus 3, so that was one of my sides, plus 11 minus 1 is 10. That's another side, plus 5 times 11 is 55. Plus the last side is 6. So all I gotta do is simplify this last side. So 118 equals, this is 47. So now I have the length of each side of my rectangle. So these are my 4 lengths. And now the question is, if you add up all these sides together, does that equal 118? So I'll do 118. And I'm just gonna do the work on the side. 47 plus 10. Well, actually, I'll just do it here. This is 57 plus 55 plus 6. I know it's 61. And I know that when I add 57 and 61, I do get 118. So this checks out to be correct. And now if I go back to my question again, find the length of RS. The length of RS equals 55. I know that's 100% correct.